greatest drama, written by you, the American people, and brought to you by the General Tire and Rubber Company, in cooperation with your friendly General Tire dealer. The greatest drama, the memorable living stories of the great among us.
This chapter, To the Ends of the Earth, the story of Richard E. Byrd. Admiral Byrd. He received nearly every award the nation can bestow, but almost always success came after frustration and suffering. The pattern began when he entered Annapolis. Captain of the Navy gym team in 1911, Byrd devised a hair-raising stunt on the flying rings, a stunt he felt would bring the team the intercollegiate championship. When he tried the stunt the day before the big meet, his hands missed the rings. Falling to the floor, his foot was broken. The team won the championship without him. In 1918, Byrd proposed that the Navy send its new flying boats on a transatlantic flight. He made the preparations, but others made the flight and got the glory. Byrd was assigned to the Shenandoah, scheduled to fly to the North Pole. That had been his childhood ambition. But in 1925, the Shenandoah was destroyed in a storm. Undiscouraged, Byrd turned to another adventure. With Floyd Bennett, he sailed from New York in 1926. Byrd planned to fly to the North Pole, something no man had ever done before. At Spitsbergen, near the Arctic Circle, he met the famous explorer Roald Amundsen, who was preparing the dirigible Norge for a polar dash. Byrd and Bennett took off first, north over unknown territory. Midway to the pole, one of the motors began to leak oil. Byrd flew on to almost certain death, but his luck held. He reached the pole, circled it, and returned to Spitsbergen, the first humans to fly over the northern apex of the globe. You were Commander Byrd now, a national hero. You and Bennett were decorated by President Calvin Coolidge. Already you were planning your next adventure, a transatlantic flight. Not for the $25,000 offered to the first man to fly from New York to Paris. You wanted to prove that planes were now capable of carrying passengers over the Atlantic. Before you could start, an unknown named Charles A. Lindbergh appeared. He was after the big prize. You gave Lindy the use of your field and cheered him when he reached Paris. Now you were ready for the takeoff. You yourself would be navigator. Pilot Floyd Bennett had been injured. Veteran Bert Acosta substituted. Relief pilot, Bernd Balkan. Radio man, George Neville. It was almost 0 hour. At dawn one morning in June of 1927, you and your crew took their places. Would the overloaded plane be able to stay in the air? It did. Over New York, then out over the Atlantic. First clouds, then thick fog. You flew blind, depending on your navigating skill to bring the plane through. For almost 2 days, you saw neither land nor sea. Then the coast of France, but the worst was yet to come. Fog again as you reached Paris. Impossible to land. Only one slim chance for safety. Turn back and land on the ocean. Back to the lighthouse on the coast. You'd often wondered what would happen to a big 3-engine plane landing on water. You found out. The America was wrecked beyond repair, beached by the outgoing tide. But Byrd and his crew escaped with only minor injuries and received a hero's welcome from the admiring French. Bold in crisis, Dick Byrd was modest in success.
Our flight across the Atlantic was a big test of a man, and they came up to the mark in every respect, and I am proud of them, and proud to be one of them. They didn't make this flight for glory, but purely for science and international amity.
Byrd and Floyd Bennett planned a flight to the South Pole, but Bennett passed away. Sorrowfully, Dick Byrd saluted his North Pole comrade. Then off to new dangers at the bottom of the world. Antarctica, a frozen world 9,000 miles from New York. In November 1929, Dick Byrd and Bernd Balken took off for the South Pole. Had the plane enough power to climb over those soaring mountains? Byrd threw their food overboard, and they made it. The South Pole Plateau. They dropped an American flag. Then back to the camp at Little America. Back to New Zealand, where Dick Byrd greeted the cheering crowd in his newly acquired Rear Admiral's uniform. Back to New York City and a triumphant ticker tape parade up Broadway. Then to Washington, where Byrd received a medal from President Herbert Hoover. Dick Byrd had reached the North and South Poles. Instead of resting, he returned to Antarctica in 1933. At an advanced base 100 miles south of Little America, he spent the winter alone, making weather observations. The temperature inside the hut was 30 below zero. Outside, it fell to 80 below. Byrd became sick, but wouldn't call for help lest lives be lost in a rescue attempt. When rescuers reached Byrd, he was nearly dead, but his mission was accomplished. Byrd turned homeward. Home. A greater hero than ever. Congratulated by President Roosevelt.
Dick, I salute you.
Dick Byrd rested now, but not for long. In 1939, he announced,
Our government has decided to send another official expedition down to Antarctica to substantiate our claims to the territories that we have discovered down there in the past few years.
southward again to plant the flag of the United States on the frozen continent. Returning in 1941, Byrd reported,
Between Little America and South America, there has been 1,200 miles of coastline that explorers have been trying to discover for over 100 years. The reason that the coastline had not been discovered sooner was because of an impenetrable ice pack that prevented any ships from getting through. We were ordered this time to find that coastline. We managed, by the use of the ship and airplane, to find over 800 miles of it. That having been accomplished, we are returning to the United States under orders from the President.
A few months later, the nation was at war. Annapolis-trained, Admiral Byrd served with distinction during World War II. With peace, in 1947, a new assignment to lead a great United States Navy expedition to Antarctica. The aircraft carrier, helicopters, and photo reconnaissance planes were a far cry from the first expedition of 1928. Then, Byrd had only 3 small ships. Now he had 2 naval task forces, thousands of men, and the best equipment. Only the stormy Southern Ocean and the icy gales of Antarctica remained the same. The planes took off from snow-covered decks to photograph and map regions never before charted. From Little America, parties went out in search of scientific data. The greatest polar expedition in history, all under the expert leadership of Dick Byrd. Home again, Byrd was met by an honor guard of sailors and Marines. He received a hearty "well done" from Navy Secretary James Forrestal. In the tradition of the Navy, he had carried on to the ends of the earth. Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a great American.
The greatest drama was brought to you by the General Tire and Rubber Company and your friendly General Tire dealer, who sells America's top quality General tires and tubes. Be with us next week at this time when the General Tire and Rubber Company and your General Tire dealer presents another chapter from The Greatest Drama.